Welcome to the next step, Pinball Nerds. We've touched up and clear coated the playfield. It's got a nice wax on it now. It's nice and smooth and shiny, and I'm sure me touching my fingers all over it is not helping it at all. So we're at that point where we need to start putting this back together. And so I have a rotisserie table that I usually use when I have to work on both sides. But for the very first step, I'm just going to be working on the back side here. And I'm going to show you some of the details for what I got to do. Okay, so this is the underside of the playfield, and you can see I got the lights I've been playing around with, and over here I have the harness, which I'm going to have to put back in place, and I got my big box of all my plastics and parts and pieces that I took off. So I need to put this board back together. But the first thing I got to do is deal with the lights. So you see these wires here, this braided wire and that braided wire in here and all along here. This is a ground line that was used for the general illumination. It went around and was here where the light holes were, and were physically soldered onto the lamp holders. So in order to get the harness off, I had to cut these. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order some, they call it tinned braided wire. They sell them at pinball specialty places, and I'm going to replace them. You know, the staples sort of give me some idea where it's going to be at and where all the lamps are. So I got to replace that first. That's before anything else goes on this board. I got to do that tinned wire. So the question is, what do I want to replace them with? This is an EM machine, and they all came with standard light bulbs. Oh, actually, I should probably get the light bulbs. Okay, so the question is, what am I going to put in these playfield lights? Am I going to go with the standard illumination, or am I going to go with LEDs? And if I go LEDs, what kind of LEDs? Because there's lots of different options. I like the idea of getting this restored and making it as bulletproof as possible, which means getting things which are going to last a long time. So these incandescent lights, they're very nostalgic. They're, you know, how the machine was when it came out of the factory. But LEDs last a lot longer. You can order different lights from Comet Pinball and Marco's Specialties. And I got an assortment pack so I can try all sorts of different lights out to see how they look. And yeah, I got a whole bunch here, so we can try them out, decide what we want. I got some standard whites, I got some clear whites. Oh, I got some candy. Oh, nice. And then I got a whole assortment pack of all sorts of lights and flashers and super brights. And so we'll have fun playing with those. All right, so here's the back of the pinball machine, and between the workings in the cabinet and the back here, this is where most of the state machine and the computer aspect of the system is. The playfield pretty much has switches and sensors for scoring, and that scoring information comes up here to go to the different wheels. So the system should plug in and function without having the playfield hooked up. But I need to hook up these. These are called Jones connectors, and this connects this back glass, or the top, to the workings inside the cabinet. And obviously Jones invented these, but the nice thing about them is they have different sets of pins, so you can't get them wrong. But occasionally you need to buff these and clean these so that they make a good contact. I think I've already done that. So I'm just going to snap these in place. So there we go, there's the Jones connectors. And here's the power. So let's plug this bad boy in. Ooh. Yeah. doctor told me not to do this. Okay, it's plugged in. Now I'm gonna go hit the switch. We'll see if it lights up. All right, you can see it's lit up. Okay, so let's switch around to the other side and we'll take the glass off and we'll play around with some bulbs. Okay, the power's on. Game over. Match 60. Okay, that glass is now loose. Let's see if I can pick this up. Yeah, there we go. Take this out carefully. Set this aside. Okay, so you can see all the bulbs we got. Got some flashers. I think those are just temperature flashers. They're part of the bulb. They're not actually. There isn't actually a flashing circuit. It's one of those Christmas light type things where the light comes on and heats up, and then the piece of metal expands, breaking the circuit, and then it cools down and repeats. So we have a lot of these smaller lights everywhere. I think this is a player number. No, that's player number. I think this is a bad bulb. Compared to the LED, it's got the same kind of insert. All right. So let's plug in an LED and see how this works. Plug in this LED. So one of the things I was concerned about was, ooh, look at that. One of the things I was worried about, other than the sockets being kind of loose, was that I'm not sure if this thing's running on DC current or if it's doing the whole thing in alternating current, or what kind of voltage it has at all. So I was kind of worried that maybe the LEDs wouldn't work in it, or that I would need to get some special non-flickering kind. So wow, look at that. That's pretty bright. Let's see if we can. What I want to do is check out some of the whites. Because those are the kind of things that's going to go into the playfield for most of the buttons. You know, most of the colored buttons are going to be for under the plastics and stuff. So this is a frosted white, and that's nicely bright. It has a little white plastic over the light, so it disseminates the light, so it's not so piercing. And here is a clear white. Let's try this out here. Oop, come on, get in there. Operator failure. Where is it? There we go. Okay. So that's a clear white. So you can see that it's not as smooth around. It's really pointing more like in an out direction. So you see it doesn't light up around the outside as much as the frosted does. So this is probably good for like something where it's underneath the playfield and it's shining through a round dial like the bonus. But if you have an area which you need to light up for general illumination, the frosted white's probably the way to go. Alright, so I got some fun stuff to play around with here, and I'm going to make a general decision of what kind of lights to do in the playfield, and I'll get back to you. Okay, a quick update time. I have tried all the bulbs in the top, see what they're like. I got a whole bunch of colored samples. I got the yellow, the blue, purple, green. This one's amber, frosted, and a red. And so it was a pretty good assortment of colors. but I think for this simple game, I mostly needed white. So there's two kinds of whites. There's like a natural warm light, and then you got like the sunlight, and then the nice bright whites, which are kind of cool. Cool as in not a warm color, a cool color. So depending on the look, you can either go retro with the warm look, or you can do the cool. Still haven't decided what to do with the top, but for the play field, anything that's going to go through plastic, right? Like this one, and I think all of the bonuses here, right? They're going through white plastic. I'm going to do the clear bayonets here, because it's it's single direction and it'll shine right on here. I don't need the frosted to light up around it. I just need it to light up directly. So I'm going to use these clear frosted for the bonus lights. Some of these have color, right? The game has a couple of colors like yellow and red for lighting up different sections of the board. And so I'm probably going to get colored lights for that, just to match that. And then the rest of the lights are going to be like on the playfield side, so it should be pretty easy for me to adjust the colors. So depending on what it is, right? I got the crocodile here, which I may do green or I may do blue. I got the pop-up bumpers, and I think they have different color specifications that get lit up when things roll over, so I'll match the colors for that. So I may need to pick out some more colors, but for now, the most difficult ones are the ones which are in place here, and once the parts get on, I can't get access to. So I'm going to do these with the white. Okay, pinball nerds. I've gotten some wire to replace for the ground wire. Now this isn't braided, but it is a tinned copper wire, so it should be easy to solder onto. And it's got plenty of gauge. This is 20 AWG, so this should be enough for what I'm doing here. So you can see where the wire is and where it stops and where it continues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pencil and I'm going to mark where the wire is going and how it should flow all the way through. And then I will lift up the staples a bit and pull the old wire out, and then run the new wire. Okay? So let me just start here with this wire. Just mark where it's going. Okay, gotten all the wires off the field. Here they all bundled up there. And I've wiped the field a little bit to get some of the sanding stuff up. And I got the little lines marking where the wires need to go. So now I'm going to check this out. But before I do that, I saw a little fuse here. This fuse here on the side that says that it's a line fuse, 5 amps, 115 volts. So I'm wondering if I should make sure I got enough of a gauge to handle 5 amps. So I'm going to take a quick look at that before putting the wiring in. After looking it up on the internet, we can see that 20 gauge wire can handle up to 8.9 amps. And since the board is only running 5 amps across the lights, we should be fine. So I'm going to I'm going to try and run this as long as I possibly can. I don't know if you can see. Let me just rotate this a bit. But it hooks up to the harness right here. And so it goes all the way around here and loops around. So I'm going to try and do it in a single pass. So we'll see how that goes. All right, I thought I'd show you some of the stuff of what's involved. I'm trying to run this line as a single wire, and so what I'm doing is I'm using the existing staples, and I pop up one end and I feed the wire through this end, which I think is, I'm gonna have to come back that way, or maybe join up right here. Okay. Okay. Get that lined up for that hole. Hooks up into this one. Get that back in that hole. Hammer it down. Alright. That's the general idea. Okay, I have finished putting the ground wire on all the spots in the playfield, and this is the point where I got to start putting the parts on. So I'm going to put the playfield in my rotisserie table. This is a, if you couldn't tell, this is a homemade rotisserie table. So this rotisserie table works really well for this size playfield. If you got a larger pinball, you're going to probably have to make a larger rotisserie, and I probably should have made this a little larger. Let's see, it is off the ground. The spinning point is about 13 inches. The distance across, see, the total distance here is 50 inches, but internally the distance is about 43, and there's some play in the pipe here, so I can adjust it if it needs to be a little smaller. I got a flange here on the back to keep it from falling through, and what I want to do is put cut a piece of plywood to be a wheel, so I can put a pin through here and hold it in place when I get that. I got these nice little tiny clamps at Home Depot, nice little just the right size for it to flip, to hold it down and clip it on that and stay out of the way. No, this is 27 inches. And I've glued them all together so they're nice and rigid. If you have too much play in it, it gets a little wobbly when you're flipping the table. So I'm going to put this table in place, and then we'll start getting things lined up for putting the parts on. Okay. All right, so we have it up on the rotisserie table. This is the piece of metal that I used for this support right here. It is angled aluminum. It's 1/8 inch, and then this is a 1 inch angle here. And it's pretty easy to cut to the size you want. Make sure you sand the edges so you don't cut yourself afterwards. And I just cut it to the length I needed, which was just barely above here. I really should have made this taller, give myself a few more inches. But now it's rather easy to work on this side, and then I've got to do some wiring. I can work on this side and flip it back, right? Or I can do it this way. Okay. Some of the things you want to make sure you do. Some of these clamps have rubber pads and some don't, so make sure you get the right ones so that you don't damage your board. So let's move this back, and we'll grab the harness and get it in position. All right. And you should always be wary whenever you move your harness and some pieces are left over. That looks like a really tiny Jones connector. Interesting. So check that out. Okay. All right, I got the harness laid out in front of the table. And this is the start of the harness, right? Here's my Jones connectors. I connect the playfield to the cabinet, and the wiring comes down here, and this is the first set of things that I need to hook up. And you know, there's also a split here, and one of the splits goes to the alligator gate, which goes right here. And this is one of those support points that the harness is clipped onto. So really, I think that's going to be one of the things I'm going to have to use to figure out how to lay it out on here. It's these little support points. All right, I just wanted to take this opportunity to show you all about the ground line and the lights. So up here we have 2 lights. This is near the beginning of the harness, and you can see how they have the power line here, which is where it's plugged in here and controlled. But right here, this is where the ground line runs by this other side. Here's some old ground line. I'm just gonna clip that off there. And what we need to do is we need to solder this ground line to this puppy so it's grounded. And we need to do this as we're putting things back together, because we're going to put more and more parts on it. It's going to get hard to get to. So I got my soldering iron here, and it's the temp. Got a little bit of solder here just to help get this started. Let's see here. See if I can do this. See if I can get this whole thing. This whole thing is pretty big. See if I can get this ground line in there. Okay. Okay, I got my continuity tester to see how things are. So when they touch, it makes a little sound. So obviously the ground wire will work. Let's see if this ground wire to this. Yes, good. And how about this? No. Oh, yes. Okay. So those are electrically connected. We're good to go. Now, just a few hundred more pieces and we'll be done.